So today I want to talk to you guys about the LEVOLUTION aspect of the Second Assault DLC. Now the reason I'm talking about it is because when you bring out a DLC like Second Assault with old maps from previous games, you have to make significant changes to the maps in order for it to feel fresh and not just like, you know, a lazy, easy way to get out a DLC. So the way they can do that with these maps is with the LEVOLUTION. That can really change the maps. So without further ado, I'm going to jump straight into it, discuss LEVOLUTION and whether or not I think it's enough to make this feel like a fresh, refreshing DLC. So to start with, we've got Gulf of Oman, and the big LEVOLUTION on this is the sandstorm, which sweeps in from the sea and absolutely consumes the map. You can see here I've got it in spectator mode while the sandstorm is going off, so I'm sort of flying around the map, and you can see it completely changes the way the map looks and obscures your vision regardless of whether you're on foot, playing as an infantry player, or in a tank, jet, you know, any sort of vehicle. So it just completely changes the map and changes the game because suddenly visibility is so low. Perhaps you have to start thinking about how you're going to change up your loadouts for when the sandstorm hits, and I think it's pretty cool actually. It looks really epic, and it was a bit of a pleasant surprise because I thought it was going to be a little bit naff, but I do think it looks pretty good. It makes the map look a little bit more sort of chaotic, and I think it's cool, and it's nice to see that not every single LEVOLUTION is something exploding and falling over. It's cool to see weather cycles, so you know, it's down the similar routes of Paracel Storm. So yeah, I think it's quite a cool evolution. Whether or not it changed the map enough, I'm still not sure. I've not played it enough, but it does look pretty cool. Next up is probably the most pleasant surprise for me, and that's Operation Firestorm. Now, even though this map is very grey, and if I'm honest, it looks a little bit dull, the LEVOLUTION is actually better than I thought it would be. I was very underwhelmed by what I heard about it, you know, just a series of things you can blow up. But for once, Operation Firestorm is called Operation Firestorm for a reason. It's like a pyromaniac's dream. You can just set fire to everything. If you've got puddles of gasoline or petrol, depending on what part of the world you're from, you can use the engineer's tool to set it on fire, and it will just create these massive areas and engulf them in flames. And there's so many tanks that you can just blow up, so many gas tanks that you can shoot or hit with RPGs, grenades. You've also got things like you can bring down the shutter, although that's a little bit pointless because if you fire an RPG at that, it just explodes anyway, and that whole idea is gone. But another cool part of it is the crane, the fact that if you go up onto this crane you can see here, and you see at the top, where the weights are at the back of the crane, the weights that hold the crane up, there's a series of explosives. If you get to the top and there's no explosives there, you're on the wrong crane and you want to go to the other one. Plant C4 on that, jump off, detonate it, and watch what happens. As well as that, you can also take down this part of the crane, this thing hanging from it, and as you can see, it has various uses, including taking choppers out of the sky in a new and interesting way. So this one has pleasantly surprised me. Up next is probably, arguably, the most hotly anticipated map of the DLC, and that's Operation Metro. Now, from the footage we were shown in the trailer, it seemed that you could bring down pretty much the entire roof of Metro, but actually what it is a series of small parts of the roof being held up by wooden planks. You shoot those pieces of wood, and the roof falls down in those areas, which is good in a way because it means now it doesn't open up the fact that if the whole roof came down, you'd probably be able to get on the top and shoot down into the metro from the roof like you can on Lankang Dam, which gets really annoying when people just sort of camp up there. But my first reaction just to these small things was, I was very unimpressed. I expected really big parts of the ceiling to come down, but having played it actually, I see now why they did it. Because Operation Metro is such a close quarters map, everything's in such a small space, if the LEVOLUTION was very big, it would just be disproportionate, and it would be a little bit overpowered, if you want to use that phrase. I like the fact that if you are near it when you trigger the LEVOLUTION, he does the animation of putting his hand against his face to block from the dust that sort of comes up from it. And also you can do little cool things like this. Thanks to Matt the Musketeer and Shaved Ape for getting this footage with me. You can actually drop it down on people, drop it down on enemies. So yeah, I think it's quite a cool, clever, and at times quite cheeky little bit of a LEVOLUTION. And actually I think it works well now. I was very underwhelmed at first, but whether or not Metro looks as good as it did in Battlefield 3, still not decided. But I do think they have made some big changes because you've also got the new flanking routes and stuff like that. So for me, Metro has had enough changes. And finally is what I found surprisingly to be my favourite map of the DLC from what I've played so far, and that's Caspian Border, and you can bring down the huge tower, which I think is great because that tower on Battlefield 3 was a huge DICE dedicated dickhead spot. people just used to camp up there with snipers, and there wasn't much you could do unless you were experienced at parachuting in and landing on those towers. Now, if you go underneath it, and as you can see here, there's a little computer, you trigger that, you get a countdown. When the countdown finishes, this happens. You've also got the little things as well, like, you know, you can bring down the shutters on the elevated pillar boxes, bring up the gates to stop vehicles from getting to certain objectives, which is good because for me as an infantry player, Caspian Border used to get on my nerves when there were just vehicles rolling around the place. You could do nothing as infantry unless you could get C4 or RPGs, something like that at them. Now you can actually stop them getting to where you are, so that's really cool. And other than the toppling tower, the other changes are quite small, but again, it's enough to keep me satisfied and make the map feel a bit more refreshing because you can restrict the movement of vehicles around the map. So yeah, that makes a big difference. So all in all, in summary, I do think they have done enough to sort of revitalise the maps, make them feel new, but also have that old nostalgia factor with them as well. The only problem is, the appreciation of a new DLC can sometimes be overlooked because of still how many issues there are with the game. So it doesn't matter how good a map is, if you're playing it on a game that is, to use the common phrase, broken, it just sort of outshadows the quality of the maps. So it's a shame that we've got these new maps, and I do think they work really well, but at the moment the fact that Battlefield 4 is still riddled with bugs can make people overlook that. But all in all, I am impressed, and I think they've done a good job with revitalising the maps. There's still maps I would have rather have seen. After playing these, I would have still rather have seen Sand Crossing and Grand Bazaar. But hey, I can't change that. Play with what we've got and just enjoy it. So let me know what you think as well. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this, whether you think they have done enough with the maps and whether or not you're enjoying them. If you did enjoy the video, please hit like, leave me a comment, and until next time, you guys take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all very soon.